A ladder in Jerusalem hasn't been moved since the 1700s. We'll tell you why on a brand new episode of The Internet Says It's True. Yes, welcome to The Internet Says It's True, where every week we learn something. It sounds like I made it up, but it's really true. Part of the WCBE podcast experience and available on all podcast platforms, as well as the NPR app and website. My name's Michael Kent. This is episode 205. Thank you so much for listening. Welcome to new Tiziters Jeff and Marcus. If you want to become a Tizitor, you can do that at patreon.com/Michael Kent. And that's the way to support the show. You can join at any level from $1 on up. You can even do a free trial if you want. Once again, sign up today to be a Tizitor at patreon.com/Michael Kent.
I am once again asking for your financial support.
Thank you, Bernie. Also, don't forget to pick up your show t-shirts and mugs. They are awesome quality. I can attest to that. I've got them myself, and you can get those on our website at theinternetsaysitstrue.com. You just click on merch. So anyway, let's talk about some objects that have become permanent fixtures. In Glasgow, Scotland, there's a statue of the Duke of Wellington on a horse. It depicts Arthur Wellesley, the first Duke of Wellington, outside the Gallery of Modern Art. And if you look up a picture of the statue, like on Google, chances are you won't be able to see the Duke's face, and that's because the statue almost always has a traffic cone on its head. Even though the statue was erected in 1844, the traffic cone tradition only started in the 1980s. It began as, a little bit of light vandalism, just some locals having fun. But the image was so funny to the public that once it was removed by the city, another cone went on. And city council hated it. They put the statue on a higher pedestal, and that didn't matter. The cone just kept appearing on the Duke's head. And soon the image of the statue with the cone carried more cultural relevance to the people of Glasgow than the Duke of Wellington himself. It was a way for them to express the city's sense of humor. The city removes the cone something like 100 times a year, and it doesn't matter. By all accounts, it seems like the traffic cone is now a permanent object, and that's because the people want it there. On the eastern coast of Scotland, there's a stone called the Stone of Destiny, also called the Stone of Scone. It might be Stone of Scone. I've heard people pronounce it different ways. It's considered a permanent, immovable object. It was supposedly used to coronate Scottish monarchs dating back to the 1st century. It has a long and storied history of being taken and used by different groups, political and religious, but was most recently seen in 2023 during the coronation of King Charles. It's an immovable, permanent object. And a lot of these immovable or permanent objects are that way because of a deep meaning, usually religious. And while today's story is about religion, it's not necessarily about an object that has any deep religious meaning in and of itself. If you visit the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, there's a ledge on the wall of the Armenia Apostolic Church. Above that ledge, there's a window, and leading up to the window, a small 5-rung wooden ladder. And that ladder has been there since at least the early 1700s. So just to go into a brief background about the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, this is the site that's largely agreed upon as the place where Jesus of Nazareth was supposedly crucified and resurrected. And because of that, it's one of the most revered places in the world for believers. But it's also a place that's incredibly fragile. Throughout history, many different groups have laid claim to the site. Since the 4th century, people have been claiming control and dominance over the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Think about all the different sects of Christianity. They all have slightly different thoughts on tradition and history and all want to control the site slightly differently. And then you've got the Muslim groups in the area as well, and the whole thing becomes incredibly complicated. It's actually been destroyed and rebuilt several times. With religious sites being commonly destroyed throughout history, it's pretty amazing that this place still exists today. Control of the church has been taken through blackmail, bribery, and outright fights throughout history, and currently, it's resting on a delicate balance of an insanely complicated set of rules. We're talking like American income tax policy level of complications. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre is currently cared for by the Greek Orthodox, Armenian Apostolic, and Roman Catholic Church, along with Coptic, Ethiopian, and Syriac Orthodox churches. Each group has different duties and areas of care, and the entire thing is just incredibly fragile and complicated. Not all of it has been completely agreed upon. There are some areas of the holy site that still cause arguments today. In 2008, Armenian monks and Greek monks got into this huge fight over a chair. Apparently, there's a place where a chair is placed for a Coptic monk to sit on the roof. It was a hot day, and he moved the chair something like 8 inches to the right so he could be sitting in the shade. And this was seen as a huge affront and caused a literal fist fight. And since it was in the 2000s, there were videos of it that got spread around the world. Something like 11 people were hospitalized. So imagine now that this building has something that needs to be repaired. How do they decide who's responsible? Since it's so complicated, it's a huge task to do the teeniest amounts of work. They must maintain the centuries-old agreements, which are referred to as the status quo. After the break, we'll tell you about what this has to do with an old wooden ladder. And don't miss this break because I've got a new advertiser I really want to tell you about. The world of medication-based weight loss is taking off and can be really scary if you don't know where to turn to for the right information. We've got a great solution for you as a new supporter of the show. Mochi Health is an incredible holistic telehealth platform. It basically connects you with board-certified doctors and dietitians, and they'll help you determine the best course of treatment to reach your health goals with medication delivered to your door. And we're talking about science-backed medications like Ozempic that you've heard of. They make it affordable, personalized, and it doesn't matter what insurance coverage you have, they'll help you find a solution that fits your lifestyle and your weight loss goals. Again, these are FDA-approved GLP-1 medications, and it just couldn't be easier. I want you to go check out joinmochi.com. That's JOINMOCHI.com. And because you listen to this podcast, you get $40 off. Just use promo code INTERNET. Again, that's joinmochi.com, promo code INTERNET, or use the deals link in the show notes. If you love listening to this podcast every week and you want to show your support, that would mean a great deal to me. You can do that by becoming a Patreon member. We've got members at all levels, whether you want to pledge $1 a month or $10 a month. Just think about the value that you receive from this show. And if you like the histories and the stories that you learn about or the jokes that you hear, and if you think that they're worth it, consider signing up. For that, you get every episode ad-free and a week early, access to bonuses like the unedited videos of the guest appearances, and 20% off all merchandise. You can sign up today at patreon.com/Michael Kent. That's patreon.com/Michael Kent. There was a time that humans used 100% organic products as healing balms and moisturizers for their skin. Well, I've partnered with an awesome company that wants to get back to those times. Fatco sells organic and responsibly made tallow-based skincare products. For centuries, humans used tallow in skin moisturizers and healing balms, but unfortunately, the topical application of these fats seemed to stop around the same time that animal fats stopped being considered part of a healthy diet. A lot of modern skincare products do more harm than good by stripping your skin of its natural oils. Let's change that. You can try them out now at fatco.com and get 15% off your order by using my promo code INTERNET. Go to theinternetsaysitstrue.com/deals for the link.
We're living through the most dynamic time in human history, and what we do as leaders matter. We are the ones that create the leverage to shift directions of our companies, our nonprofits, and our communities. As a leader or an emerging leader, please join me for a dynamic conversation with top thought leaders, academics, and executives to learn more about how to elevate your leadership. I'm Maureen Metcalf. Join us at the WCBE podcast experience at wcbe.org.
I'm John DeSando, host of Back Talk. This podcast is an extension of the long-running, award-winning movie review show, It's Movie Time. Back Talk features additional content and banter with guests about new movies. If you want more insight and information about what's playing now in theaters and online, find Back Talk at the WCBE podcast experience on wcbe.org. You'll be happy you did.
We see every day on the news the precarious situation in the Middle East. In Jerusalem, you've got a very small piece of earth that many different religious groups lay claim to. It's not just Jewish people and Muslims. So as a result, there are 9 different religious sites in Jerusalem that are subject to an agreement called the status quo, which dates back to the firman of Ottoman Sultan Osman in 1757. It basically splits up the responsibilities of ownership and care of these sites between 6 different religious communities and says that no one can make any changes to these places without consensus among all the groups. The status quo is old and has gone through a bunch of iterations, but it was most recently formalized in the 1949 UN Conciliation Commission, which was a response to the 1947-1949 Palestine War. The most famous symbol of the status quo is a single ladder. It's a small 5-rung wooden ladder in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, one of the 6 status quo sites. And this ladder rests against a window of the Armenia Apostolic Church. The ladder has been there since at least 1728, which is the first time we see a reference to it in print, but it's likely been there long before that. It's known as the Immovable Ladder, but some refer to it as Jacob's Ladder, which is a biblical reference that has nothing to do with this particular ladder. The ladder was originally used for who knows what. Nobody knows. There are a ton of theories as to what the ladder was used for, and there's really no way of knowing which is the truth. It could have been a ladder to help monks get a breath of fresh air. It could have been a ladder used by a mason to work on the stones of the building. We just don't know. The use of the ladder isn't important. The reason the ladder is significant is because of what it represents symbolically. It's a symbol of the agreement for all of these different people with different beliefs, strong beliefs, to come together and respect each other's use of this single space. It was removed once by Pope Paul VI back in 1964. He didn't like that the ladder reminded people of the divisions within the church, so he had someone pull it in through the window and hide it. A week later, it was returned, and this time, a steel grate was installed in the window so it couldn't be pulled in again. I guess we're just lucky this one didn't result in a huge fistfight like the battle over the chair on the roof. The immovable ladder is now seen as an important piece of history of that region. It represents the status quo and the agreement between a lot of people who don't always agree. So next time there's a mess in your house and you can't decide whose job it is to clean it up, maybe just think of it as a symbol of agreement or lack thereof and leave it and tell them the internet says it's true. It's time for Yap Yap with me and a friend. Today, I'm calling Jonathan Burns. Jonathan is a comedian, variety entertainer who's hot off a run on America's Got Talent, where you may have seen him. He magically made slices of cheese move between Sofia Vergara and Heidi Klum, or you may have seen him transport himself from a couch to a chair. Good to see you, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, good to see you too. Yes, it was a sleeper sofa, and I was in a straitjacket at the time as well that I transported myself magically, which was pretty fun.
Yeah, I undersold it. That's my fault. In my description,
there was so much more. I had fireworks shooting out of my hands.
I left out great. Terry Crews altogether.
Terry Crews, he's the one who shoved me in the sleeper sofa. Yeah. Well, it's fun because it's like we travel around and we have to travel with just what fits in our suitcase. And this was a chance to do something with like a big piece of furniture and perform a magic illusion on live TV for millions.
I went to a lecture once for a magician named Kevin James, who I'm sure you're familiar with, but our audience may not be. It's a different Kevin James than the one you're thinking. And Kevin James
King
said,
of Queens. King of Queens.
Different guy. He said, anytime you have one of those ideas that is not practical for what you're doing, write it down anyway, because there might be a chance that you do get to do it, where someone says, hey, we've got the budget, do what you want. And he gave us some examples of things like that he was able to do.
I did not learn that from the King of Queens, but I did. I follow the same philosophy. Like I write down everything because there's a lot of dumb ideas that we go through, but sometimes they turn into good ones. So and the dumb ones that you don't do, no one has to see. They stay in your notebook and are hidden away. My diary.
Yeah. So I've been doing a new segment on the show, maybe like the last couple months, where I ask guests to give me a fact that they think I might not have heard about, and then we just use the honor system as to whether or not I know. So can you tell me a true fact that you think there's little chance that I've heard before?
A fact that, yes, I have one. I tried to have one ready for this.
The thing is about this is that every time you're on,
yes,
you try to guess what the episode's going to be about. And so you usually already have some facts.
I do. I have some facts. I've been researching throughout the day about a couple of different things, but the one I found most fascinating was things you didn't know about American cheese, Kraft singles, which I did
Oh,
use just recently on television. But I wanted to find
okay.
out more about them. And do you want a question about American cheese?
Yeah, give me some trivia about cheese.
Okay, so let's find this here. Uh, What you want a question? I'll give you a question.
Yeah,
What?
it can be a statement of fact. It doesn't have to be a question. I'll be honest
Okay.
whether or not I've heard it.
Okay. Did you know that I can't find my notes? Did you know that Norman Kraft is the one who developed the original cheese slice, and that was in 1935 was the original cheese slice. I thought it would have been much older than that
They
when I
never
read that
thought
fact.
to slice cheese until 1935.
Before then it was in big chunks and wheels, and they would have to cut pieces off of it, and then it wasn't as convenient as a slice until 1935. It
I
seems like it should be way older than that.
Yeah, I did not know that. You have given me something that I did not realize. That seems crazy and wrong and made up, which is perfect for this show.
And
I
you can read it for yourself on the Kraft Heinz website under a slice of history.
Wonderful. They're almost as good as cheese puns as you are. You've got a
I got
lot
so
of them.
many after I performed the cheese trick on America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
Everything was like, that guy's pretty good. I thought
Oh.
he did
Oh, people
great.
even gave you a bunch. Oh, geez.
I was trying to
Rough.
keep up with them. It was it was pretty difficult.
Love it. Love it.
So each time, if I do miss any of the questions, I will also share another fact about cheese,
Okay, that sounds good.
about American cheese that the world can hear about as well.
I love this idea. And maybe you will hear some more even if you get them right. For question 1, we're going to play for a joke. So if you get it wrong, you got to tell me a joke and a
Okay.
cheese fact. If you get it right, I'll tell you a joke and then you'll tell me a cheese fact.
Okay, sure.
In Jerusalem, there's a wooden ladder that hasn't been moved in centuries. Which one of these is the reason why? A, none of the religious sects that own the land can agree on whose responsibility it would be. B, it's permanently fused into the stone of a mountain. Or C, no one knew it was there.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna say that ladder was permanently fused into a mountain.
The answer, none of the religious sects that own the land can agree on whose responsibility it is. So they just leave it where the hell it is.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's this thing like status quo at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, right, in Jerusalem. And this ladder has been sitting there, and anytime anyone does anything, there's usually a big fight about it. And like as recently as 2 decades ago, like 2008, I think it was, there was a literal fight because a dude moved a chair like 7 or 8 inches or something. He moved a
Wow.
chair, and that was not okay. And this ladder is they call it Jacob's ladder, but it's also known as the Immovable Ladder, and it just sits on a ledge against a window, and it has since the 1700s, because no one can agree on if they do move it, who is allowed to move it and where they would move it to, or if they're allowed to move it. And so just this ladder, and it's sort of it's become a representation of the status quo, of this shared space by all these different sects of Christianity. So
Unbelievable. Wow.
So-
I feel like my wife and I have done similar things where there's just one thing, one sock
I
sitting
thought
in the
you
middle
put
of
that
our
there.
bedroom.
Yeah, exactly.
So we step over it and she's just seething about it, and I'm not thinking about it at all. That's the difference between the two
Yeah,
of
yeah. I thought that was there for a reason.
us. That's where you keep your sock, right?
Yeah, yeah. So you have a joke?
I do. Well, speaking of writing down stuff in your notebook, so no one has to see it. This is one I wrote down recently. It's definitely a dad joke, and it's definitely terrible. Um, if Mississippi were a vegetable, what vegetable would it be?
What?
A potato, because of all the eyes.
Oof. Oof. That one.
Yeah, see, that's what I said. That is not going to be going on stage, and
We
it shouldn't
need-
have seen the light of day.
We
But
need a cheese
I
pun
missed
as
the
a
question.
palate cleanser.
Ugh, blah, blah, blah.
Do you have another cheese pun for us?
Oh yeah,
Doesn't
a
have to be
cheese
it could be a
fact?
fact. Yeah, not a pun.
Let me see. let's see. American cheese was actually invented in Switzerland.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Did
and it
they
was
call it
originally
American
developed.
cheese in Switzerland?
They did not. It's called Emmentaler cheese.
Wouldn't it be funny if they did? If they're like, this doesn't seem like real cheese, we'll call it American.
Well, you know what? So I've had to travel and do the cheese trick, and it is hard to find that. Sometimes I have to travel with it.
Like in other countries.
Yeah, so like I'll put it in my. I've had to take it through TSA. I've tried to figure out if it's okay to take cheese slices, cheese singles with me, and the answer is the TSA doesn't really know. But I do know that I have to take it out of my carry-on and put it in a separate bin because it looks like a block of C4 explosive, and
Yes.
it always gets flagged.
Yeah, any sort of like biomaterial like that, or any sort of organic material ends up looking like that. You know, for a couple years, I was doing a trick with a hardbound book, and they said that's what that looked like, and I had to take the book out of my case and put it separate on the thing. But cheese.
And was that book made out of American cheese?
It was a cheesy book. Yeah, it was just it was a book about cheese made of cheese.
Yeah,
it's like Kramer's coffee table book.
Oh, okay. When I that's funny. When I do travel, I do look for it. Like if I'm in a grocery store, like I was just in Paris, and they had it there. It wasn't called American cheese, but it was croque monsieur cheese.
Oh.
So it's how you make your croque monsieur, cheese.
Well, now
and then I think in Sweden they call it hamburger cheese.
Okay, well that makes sense. That's a good name for it. Probably better than American cheese. Hamburger cheese that's probably the prevalent thing that it's used for.
Yeah.
Or breakfast sandwich cheese, maybe.
Croque monsieur.
It's the only time I eat that sort of cheese is on a breakfast sandwich. I won't eat it on a hamburger or anything else.
Wow. It's been a while. It's been a while for me.
Yeah, which is funny because you buy a lot of it.
Lactose intolerant.
For this next question, we're going to play for your most embarrassing moment on stage. Bonus if it's cheese related. Which one of these is the longest ladder in the world? A, the ladder inside Christ the Redeemer in Brazil, which has 200 rungs. B, the ladder at the Handworks Museum in Austria, which has 120 rungs. Or C, the ladder inside the Washington Monument, which has 400 rungs. So again, it was Christ the Redeemer, Handworks Museum in Austria, or the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C.
I have been to the Washington Monument, and it is very tall, and I think that makes sense that there would be a ladder as tall as that obelisk. I'm going to say Washington Monument.
The answer, the Handworks Museum in Austria, which has 120 rungs. They created the longest ladder in 2005. It's 41 meters, or about 135 feet, 120 rungs. It is recognized by Guinness as the tallest ladder in the world, and with that, you have something in common with this ladder, because our guest today is also a member of the Guinness World Records family.
That is true. I can pass the most times through a toilet seat in 1 minute.
And when he means pass his body.
Yes, I can pass my body the most times in 1 minute.
Sorry, we should have been clear about that. Content warning. Yeah. Do you have an embarrassing onstage moment that you can think of? Or it doesn't have to be on stage, really, just like a performing moment.
Yes. Well, this one was embarrassing. Yes, I do. So as part of my finale trick, I fit through a toilet seat, a tennis racket, a picture frame, and hopefully the audience's hearts.
Oh.
And but as I'm doing this, I also remove different layers of clothing. I have multiple layers of clothing. It gets more and more ridiculous until I end up in a pair of tiny shorts and a tank top, looking like a 70s basketball player.
And him describing this is maybe a little bit strange. After you get done listening to this podcast, you need to search for Jonathan Burns on YouTube and find a video of him doing this. It's the best thing in the world. Anyway, sorry,
thank you. Well, I really love doing it. It is a lot of fun. It's very silly. And it's something that I created that has gotten me invited all over the world, which is strange to think about. Like something that's so silly and fun and bizarre has really. I worked in Paris for 2 months this summer because of this act. But the one I was doing it as part of a festival. We had a variety show with different performers there, and I'm doing it like I always do it. I get to where the point where I'm going to take my pants off to reveal the tiny shorts. I turn away from the audience and there's some of my friends, other performers are sitting in the back behind the scenes. I unbuckle the pants, I unzip them, I go to pull them down, I look down, and I am not wearing the tiny shorts at this moment.
Oh, no.
When we were getting ready, I was talking to somebody, and I just somehow forgot to put the tiny shorts on.
After
So
hundreds and hundreds of times of doing this.
Yes. You just like I've thought thousands. I've done it
Probably, yeah.
times. And I look down, no shorts, and I look up, and my friend Mike Wood, who's a great comedian from Canada, looks at me, and he just starts busting out laughing, knowing exactly what just happened. Because then I quickly zip my fly back up, rebuckle my pants, and finish the routine in pants.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So now, so I have never made that mistake again because I was about to just rip the pants away.
Oh,
and not in a funny way, but in a surprising and possibly getting me arrested way.
I love it. It's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. Did you get that on video? Because that would be a fantastic piece of video to have.
It is not on video, but it is on a video in my mind at all times.
A loop. That's really, really funny. Thank you for sharing that. For question 3, we're going to play for a sticker. These are 3 inches and sticky. And they're square.
Oh, right.
And they say, the internet says it's true. They're bright orange like the show logo. And you can have one of these if you get this question right. The main door to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre was made small on purpose. Which one of these is the reason that it's made small on purpose? A, to discourage people from looting and storming the building on horseback. B, because people were smaller at the time it was built. Or C, because they wanted people to bow as they entered. I will say this is the hardest question of the entire quiz.
They want to bow as they enter. They want them to bow as they enter.
Okay, so you want them, they're showing reverence as they enter the thing by forcing them to bow because
forced reverence, yes.
Forced reverence. The answer, to discourage people from looting and storming the building on horseback, is apparently the answer. And this is the best part of this whole thing. The door is known as the door of humility. That's what they call it, which is also what they call the front door at Waffle House, incidentally. But apparently that's why the door is smaller. Now, I can see that the other 2 things are probably also true, but that's not the reason given. I'm sure people were smaller when it was built, and they probably do want people to bow, but that's not what they say. I
was hoping to win the sticker to put it on that door.
Yeah, that one day I will do that and then get imprisoned in Jerusalem. I will never leave the basement of the Holy Sepulchre. Question 4. We're going to play for doing the dishes.
Well, you want to hear another fact about cheese?
Cheese? I do. I would love to hear another fact about cheese.
So let's see. The record for the fastest consumption of 46 slices is 3 minutes.
Okay, this is very oddly specific. Like, these are weird parameters. Why 46? Is that like a certain?
I think they had 3 minutes to eat as many pieces of cheese as they wanted, and they got to 46.
So you said that backwards, right? It should be how many slices of cheese did someone eat in 3 minutes? Or like the record for most amount of cheese eaten in 3 minutes is 46 slisces.
46. Yes. Okay.
But if you say like, how fast can you eat 46 slices of cheese? People will be like, I don't know.
Like, 3 minutes?
Exactly 3 minutes.
Yes.
What are the chances?
They were going for 48, but they got to 46.
46 slices of cheese in 3 minutes. You know what's weird? Why does that seem slow to me? Having not tried it, I'm sure there's no way I could do it. But it seems like 3 minutes is a really long time. And I would eat them, you know how the singles come in the pack. I feel like I would just bite out of the pack. Like, maybe unwrap them and stack them and take a big bite. Now it's
I don't know. Maybe they're unwrapping them and eating them at the same. Like maybe that's part of the 3 minutes too.
And what is it? 20 slices to a pack?
24.
24.
Typically.
So two packs.
2 pack.
Almost 2 packs. They had 2 pieces left at the end of the 3 minutes. That's so sad.
That's right. That's probably why they were going for 48. Yeah.
Interesting.
Little known fact: 2 pack Shakur That's what it was about.
That's why he was called that. That's why they killed him, because he didn't he could only eat 46.
Oh no.
That's why P. Diddy killed him. I think they added that to his indictment. Maybe not.
Oh boy.
Did you read the indictment that came from about P. Diddy today or yesterday?
No. I saw something about it, and they had to list all of his aliases, which I thought was
I haven't heard that, but that's interesting. The weird thing that the news keeps talking about is they're like, oh, we confiscated all these items to prove that he was having these crazy parties. And the only thing that they keep talking about is hundreds of bottles of lube. That's all they keep talking about. That's the thing that they say, like, we found cases of baby oil and lube. and these parties were so crazy that the women that were, I don't know if they were coerced or forced to, take part, actually had to have IVs as the party continued to keep in the game, because that's how strenuous the partying was. I try to keep this show family friendly. Just bringing up the name P. Diddy, I shot that out the window. But
wow, I did not know.
Well, now I told you something that you didn't know. The internet says it's true. Question 4. We're playing for doing the dishes. So if you get it wrong, you got to immediately go do the dishes. If you get it right, you don't have to do. I got to do the dishes. But
oh man,
my mother-in-law stays with us now, and so I don't have to do the dishes anymore.
Wow, bonus.
They just get done. It's kind of magic. Which one of these is a rule in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre? A, you must wear clothing covering your legs. B, you must promise to have bathed within 24 hours before visiting. Or C, you cannot use a selfie stick inside the holy site.
I'm going to say selfie stick.
No selfie sticks?
No selfie sticks.
So you can go in unbathed, short shorts, just no selfie stick.
I feel like you're giving me a hint here.
No, I'm just telling you. I'm just reading the other ones that you didn't choose. Those were the other two.
Could it be in all of the above? Maybe
it's not in all of the above. It's I don't do all of the above because I don't do them. So if I added one, you would know that was the right answer.
I'm going. This has been a rule since the 1200s. No selfie sticks.
No selfie sticks in the 1200s. The answer: you must wear clothing covering your legs. You're allowed to wear a selfie stick. You're allowed to bring in selfie sticks. You can go in as dirty as you want. You can chew gum. You can do a lot of stuff. There aren't many rules, but one of them is, you have to have your shoulders covered, your midriff covered, and your legs covered.
I've heard of shoulders and midriff, but I never thought about the legs.
I went into a mosque in Bahrain once wearing shorts, and they made me cover up. I had to wear a long gown type thing that went all the way down to the floor, which I didn't mind. It was part of the experience. It was kind of cool. They had them waiting there just for that reason. So you gotta do the dishes, my friend.
All right.
So
I can do that.
You're killing this quiz.
I am 0 for, I feel, all of them.
I told you I would print you out an honorary PhD if you got them all right.
Yes.
I will also do that if you get them all wrong.
Oh, okay.
Equally as impressive. The question 5 is for all the marbles, Jonathan. If you get it right, you're welcome back on the podcast anytime. If you get it wrong, you're banned for life. Here's your question. What's the oldest thing you own?
Oh, the oldest thing I own. I think it's. I have a couple shirts that I really need to get rid of, and the reason I know that is because Facebook keeps giving me photos from 15 years ago, and I'm like, I still have that shirt, or I'm actually wearing that shirt from 15 years ago.
Wow.
So,
Can we just give you some kudos for fitting into a shirt that you owned 15 years ago? That's more than I can say for myself.
It was not a brag, a humble brag. It was just that you know what, men's fashion I feel like has not changed a ton.
No, there's not much to change at all. No,
so it's like stuff I could still wear. So I've actually tried to be better about as shirts show up on my Facebook memories, I've been getting rid of them. Yeah, it's too long.
That's a good way to do it. That is a correct answer, by the way. So you are welcome back on the podcast. Yeah, I've got a lot of shirts that are way too old that I should not own anymore. Some of them are like, as we tour colleges, we get a lot of free shirts. And so I try to wear those, as like outdoor work shirts and then throw them away. It feels kind of cool to like wear a shirt just once or twice and then throw it in the trash. You're like, yeah, disposable income. It's all fake. But yeah, okay. Well, I was thinking about this question for me. I have a pair of drumsticks that I had when I was probably 5 or 6, and they're about 4 or 5 inches long. They're little guys, and I also
with like a drum set, like you got.
I had like drum sets. Yeah, I had those drum sets, and I don't know if they came with that. My first drum was the Fisher-Price drum, if you remember that. It was the red one, it was plastic, and that had yellow, like, mallet type things with it.
Yes,
I don't have those.
Yeah.
But this would have been sometime around that same time, but they're really small wooden sticks. I had the ones that you got out of, like, the Sears catalog at Christmas time. They're the plastic or paper heads. I
think we had like an Alvin and Chipmunk set that had
that's amazing
wooden sticks, but
yeah, I had a Smurf drum set, and then all the other ones were like, I had one that said Diamond Rock on the bass drum head, and so my little fictional band in my head was the Diamond Rockers, and then I had one that said Premier Rock, and then my band changed to the Premier Rockers.
Oh
yeah. Between this is between like 1st grade and 3rd grade or something.
Yeah, all those bands, whatever's on their drum head. You're like, oh, I guess we're the Red Hot Chili Peppers now.
That's how they chose the name. It's what the band said. Yeah, absolutely. You should go check out where Jonathan is. Like I said, go to YouTube and or his website and find his Hoops of Destiny routine. It's fantastic. He's done it on multiple television shows all over the world, and it's just a killer routine. You'll be singing the song in your head. So hat tip to Bon Jovi, you'll be singing the song. He performs the whole thing to Runaway, which is perfect for the bit. And to have seen that evolve over the last 20 years has been a real treat. So go check it out. You can find all of his stuff at flexiblecomedy.com. Is that correct? Did I just make
you
that
can go
up?
there. Everything is now I Heart Burns. I'm still flexible. iHeartBurns.com. Don't forget the I and the S. You go to heartburn.com.
How many domains do you have now?
I just got rid of some. I think I'm down to a cool 13.
That's actually not too bad. I think I'm still, what did I say? I was up above like 20 or 30 still, because I have dumb ideas that the first thing I'll do is register the domain, and some of them are great ideas, but I've never done anything with them. But I'm
absolutely.
Like, I'm Michael Kent Live, so I bought Michael Kent Dead. And I bought stupid.
Well, I'm
like
I Heart Burns, but I also have I Love Burns.
Oh, there you go.
Like if someone sees the heart and they want to go to love,
that's really smart. That's good.
You can also go to flexisexy.com.
Flexisexy.com. Fantastic.
Yeah, both with the Y. Flexi with a Y and sexy with a Y.
If you are a human spelling flexi and sexy with an IE, stop listening to this podcast and never listen again.
I only know that because somebody said that is not your website with like wide eyes at me.
Oh no.
And I'm like, oh, oh no.
Okay, so we'll make that disclaimer. Flexi, sexy, both with Y's, and make sure you turn on your private browsing before you go to that website.
And I don't know if you know this, Michael, but craft singles are technically not cheese.
What?
So less than 51% of craft single is cheese, so it technically can't be labeled as such. Milk, whey, and milk protein concentrate are the 3 biggest ingredients, all of which Food Educate outlines here. Oh, that was just
so they really don't call it cheese on the package?
It's just called craft singles, and it just says 2%.
No way.
Milk American.
Cheese is implied?
It's reduced fat, pasteurized, prepared cheese product.
Cheese product. Interesting. And they spell cheese with like a Z and a IE just to get around it.
On Cheese Whiz, they do for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for making the time to come on. I'm glad I could get you back on.
Yes, of course. Always good to talk to you. And I hope everyone learned a little something from my answers today.
Yeah, and we'll be hanging out down the road in Albany, New York.
That's true. See you soon.
That's all for this week. Thank you so much to Jonathan Burns for being my guest, and thanks to you for listening. Here's the voice of an immovable lad.
Thank you for listening to The Internet Says It's True. To listen to episodes ad-free and a week early, support us on Patreon. You can do that at patreon.com/Michael Kent. If you learned something just now that you didn't already know, go to the Apple Podcast app and leave us a review with 5 stars and a few words. That helps us a ton, because that's how the algorithm works. I don't know what an algorithm is, but just do it! See you next week for a brand new episode of The Internet Says It's True!
The Internet Says It's True would like to thank the Patreon subscribers whose monthly contributions help to make this show possible. Sean Brown, Joshua Endress, Dallas Ray, Bryce Swanson, Eugene Anderson, Jim and Joanne Martin, Mitch and Andrew Joseph Kemplin, and the show's official Emperor, Kick Track. The show is written and produced by me, Michael Kent. The theme song is by Finite Music Forge, and all audio clips in this episode are used for education and commentary and used under Fair Use Title 17 USC Section 107. You can listen to past episodes by searching for The Internet Says It's True wherever you get your podcasts, and you can see bonus content at patreon.com/Michael Kent.